All right, good morning to all. This is Clearwater County Council regular council meeting for July the 27th, 2021. By way of reminder, all public meetings are live streamed and recorded. Any verbal or written information provided may be included in public documents as per the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act, FOIP 41. So I've called the meeting to order at 9:01. So before we begin the agenda, we have one councillor, Councillor Hoven, who is needing to come in electronically today. So I'm looking for a motion that council authorizes Councillor Hoven's participation in the July 27th, 2021 regular meeting via electronic communications.
I would so move.
Councillor Lougheed moves. Those in favor? Councillor Hoven, are you in favor?
Yes, I am.
That sounds great. That is carried, 7-0. That brings us to the adoption of the agenda. If those are in favor, I'm looking for somebody to adopt the agenda.
I'll move the agenda.
Deputy Reeve Vandermeer, those in favor? Councillor Hoven?
Yes.
That is carried, 7-0. We're now looking at the adoption of the minutes from the regular council meeting from July the 13th, 2021. Are there any errors or omissions? And if none, I'm looking for somebody to adopt the meeting minutes. Councillor Lang? Those in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, Councillor Hoven. That is carried, 7-0. That brings us to item 4.1 from the CAO's office, July 13th, 2021, notice of motion, item 9.1, Lightcatch Ambassador Program. Mr. Reid.
Thank you, Reeve Laird and Council. As Director Haggart is on vacation, I'll present this item today, although it's a very straightforward item. The staff recommendation is that Council directs administration to provide a report with information on the Lightcatch Ambassador Program for the mobile crime tracking application and other similar comparable mobile applications options, and that the report includes any policy and financial implications. The background is, at the July 13th, 2021 regular meeting, Councillor Hoven gave notice of motion for Council to direct the motion as read above. And should this motion be approved by Council at today's meeting, administration will present the report and recommendations at the August 24th regular meeting. And if there are any questions, of course, I'm open to answer them.
All right. Are there any questions with regard to that item? All right. Then we're looking for someone from Council to make that motion that we direct administration to provide that report as indicated.
I would like to make that motion as per staff recommendation.
All right. If there's no other questions, those in favor?
In favor.
All right, that is carried, 7-0. That brings us to reports. 5.1, CAO report. You've got quite a large report, Mr. Reid.
Thank you again, Reeve Laird. I will do my best not to bore you with my little hay fever voice today. I apologize if it's not coming in clear. And I will also not sort of read verbatim what we've got there. So item 1, the RMA District 2 Board of Directors meeting on Friday, August 13th at 10 a.m. at Nehill County. I am working my schedule to hopefully attend, but right now it's looking like I won't be able to make it, and I'm hopeful that, well, I know that the item will come to me anyway. The updated resolution process as described there, just to give you a heads up so that you can be more prepared as RMA moves forward. And the, of course, heads up that the conference will be in person. So we're moving back into a pre-COVID or post-COVID situation with our conferences. Item 2, the AUMA, or Alberta Urban Municipalities Association Convention, also in November. And they are planning also for in-person. Just a heads up on a ministerial order that enabled us to receive an extra $3,481.07 just from a reassessment from the province. And the Alberta Police Interim Advisory Board report, item 5, we have myself and CAO Kraus with the town of Rocky Mountain House met to determine the best path forward for the renewing and modernization as requested by both councils of the Lagoon Agreement. And so we will commence the administrative side of that so that we can present to councils sort of the operational side and ensure that it meets the governance requests of council. And item 6, I did want to say thank you to each and every one of you for the tours that you gave me of your divisions. Those trips were well worth it for me, and I really wanted you all to know and to state publicly that I appreciated the time you gave to me, your patience, as well as the learnings that I had. I feel very much more rooted in the place that I call home now, and I thank you for that. And that's all I've got. Any questions?
I guess from my perspective, first of all, thank you, Mr. Reid, for putting that last note in there. I think it was very valuable for us as well to have that time to go out and tour each division, and I think it'll serve us well in the future. On a different note, on point number 1, it does indicate that we will have to have any resolutions that we would like to put forward for RMA in before we have another council meeting. So if we have any ideas of resolutions we'd like to put forward, we're going to have to do that very quickly here. So we need to be considering what resolutions we want to consider, if any. I know that we've had discussions on a couple items, so it might be something that we have to do via email to get this thing accomplished by August the 13th. All right. Councillor Duncan.
The deadline for resolutions for District 2 is September 15th, so it's a month before our October general meeting. So,
My apologies,
yeah,
but
it's your directors' meeting. There could be resolutions brought forward by directors. The directors group could bring resolutions forward too, but any county can bring a resolution forward, and that has to be sent in writing by the 15th of September to Mountain View, where the head of our director resides there.
well,
So we do have one more meeting that we can potentially do a resolution for.
thank you. Could you clarify then, point number 1, under the new resolution policy process, says all resolutions submitted prior to the resolution deadline require endorsement at the district meeting.
So it just means that our district meeting on October 15th, before any resolution can go forward to the provincial body, it has to be approved at our district meeting on October 15th. So
Okay.
that process is, for us anyway, has always been in place. The other one that a 3/5 majority, District 2 has always had, or for the last number of years, has had a 3/5 majority, so that change will not affect our bylaws. Typically what will happen here, the resolution committee for our district, which I've been a part of for the last number of years, would probably take a look at these changes that RMA's and align ourselves with that. So if there's anything that we need to change in our bylaws, we can, as a resolutions committee, or anyone can bring it forward at our district meeting on October 15th as well. We can submit any proposed changes to our own bylaws for a resolution process. I don't foresee anything major because like I said, we've already at the 3/5 majority. And I think the other ones on clarity, or we could easily adopt the, RMA. We just tend to follow RMA so that we make it clear and simple to move from District 2 into the provincial process.
All right, thank you for that clarification. Just wanted to make sure we weren't missing any deadlines. All right, any other questions with regard to the CAO report? If not, we'll move on to the Public Works report, 5.2.
Thank you, Reeve Laird. And again, you'll start with me. The directors are not in attendance. They did not see any items of great import for this report that would require their direct attendance, and any questions that I can't answer, they will be happy to respond to all of council by email. It's our busy time, so I'm happy that they are able to continue their main duties right now. It's a very efficient use of our time, and I'm really pleased to see that happening. So you will see updates on gravel roads, surface roads, including line painting, which I'm not sure if you have heard any complaints, but with the lines being missing, there are certain drivers that really rely on those lines. No, it's great to see that we are getting back that safety feature coming back as quickly as possible. Some maintenance on some of our roadways and bridge files, and you can see some great photos there, giving you some updates on a variety of projects. Item 4, the solid waste and recycling services. So we're working through the Cell 2 development, transfer station utilization update. I know that council was interested in those details, so the plan is to ensure that you have that information at the very least monthly. And into gravel road rehabilitation, some great projects there as well. I am trying not to belabor any of these points, but I'm, like I say, going to be open to questions at the end. So base paving, River Road and Leslieville, as well as Spate Road, are on track, continuing their plans. And certainly some details on Nordegg and the historic commercial core. Just continuing along really in the plan as approved by council. And I know that the discussion about the dust and gravel and safety of the gravel movement along the Nordegg East, or along Quarry Road, and so this update on the Nordegg East Road may be of interest, certainly to Councillor Lang. And item 10, I don't have any more information other than what was sent out in the press release and given to council as well, but the safety issue of trying to remove the stucco on the mural, there is no cost-effective or even cost-reasonable option to save that mural, but as indicated, we did get some very high-resolution photos of it, and there are certainly options that we've already seen to commemorate that and continue its legacy, and of course, through the Planning and Heritage Department, we have some ideas on involving the community in bringing, continuing that legacy and commemorating it successfully for them. And the Public Services Building, update, Fire Training Tower, update. And the photo there kind of makes me smile because it's a great photo of a very flat piece of land. The gravel work there and the flat piece of land, of course, are required to make that site accessible, or sorry, suitable for that fire training tower. So that's just an update for you. But I did think that photo was wonderful, showing our prairie and our prairie sky. Road bans were lifted, as you may recall, June 7th, but we kept this in mostly for those highlighted areas, right, that are still under ban. And that summarizes Mr. Magnuson, Mr. Hansen's report, and I can answer certainly some basic questions we might hope.
All right, do we have any questions? I see Councillor Swanson.
I'm just looking under point number 7 on the base pave on the River Road intersection, and I would hope that with a new date for the chuck wagons coming to town, which is the 19th to the 22nd of August, that access would not impede that event as much. And I'm sure that Eric and the town are working on that because it is a large event. It's postponed 1 week, but I know that they're expecting quite a number that are coming now to this event. So I've been following it on Facebook, and they're getting full capacity seating in their grandstands. So this will be an awesome opportunity in August, and I just hope our construction will wait till after that event. But just to highlight that.
That's a really great point, and of course, I thank you for bringing it forward, and I will ensure that, that we are aware of that at the very least, and that we pass that on to our contractor. Thank you.
Councillor Lang.
I have a comment and a question. So I'll start with a comment. First of all, thank you for having staff take the high-resolution photos of the museum. I heard probably about a month ago, I was down in Okotoks, and there was talk about that mural being removed. Even apparently it's been on Facebook for quite a while, so that mural is important to the community. And I was, a longtime resident had contacted me that they know the original painter of that mural, which I will put you in contact with that person. So thank you for that. Also, I'm just wondering about the new hours at the temporary central waste transfer station. Is that being communicated to the public somehow, or is it just going to be posted on Clearwater County's webpage?
At this time, it's just on the webpage. There isn't a plan to really do anything other. Perhaps council might have suggestions for that, but it's there's so much usage out there that, of course, everyone sees the signage out there as well.
All right, other questions? Councillor Lougheed.
Yes, as I recall, a while back, we undertook a project to renew our highway signs on our major highways coming into the county. I noticed that the old signs have disappeared in some places. I was just wondering if there's any update on that project.
I do see Mr. Hagan is eager to help out with this particular answer.
Thank you, Reeve Laird. Yes, Communications is heading that project in conjunction with Public Works. And the old Welcome to Clearwater County signs did come down last fall, but the contractor didn't have time to get the new signs up in time and get the right-of-way approvals from Alberta Transportation. That is in progress right now. So actually, I believe it was yesterday, there was a tour with Alberta Transportation to look at the locations, get those approvals, and I anticipate the construction should be beginning immediately. So those should be up sometime in August.
Other questions or comments? Councillor Hoven, do you have anything that you'd like to ask with regard to Public Works report?
I have no questions or comments about the Public Works report.
All right, I do have one or two, I should say, by way of reminder when Councillor Lougheed was asking about signage. Again, I guess just a gentle reminder that we need to get the Leslieville sign up as well. I know that Mr. Magnus was working on that, and I guess I'm looking for an update as to when we think we're going to get it installed, and hopefully that was part of the tour with Alberta Transportation. The other question I have that maybe we can get at a later date is when we can anticipate the solid waste and recycling services signage to be changed. I happened to take a drive to Nordegg the other day, and I noticed we still haven't changed the landfill signage. And I know that there's decaling that'll be changed on vehicles, etc., I assume.
Those are excellent points that we will get you some answers in the future. I don't have that right now.
Have no expectation for today. Looking forward to seeing that information. If there's no other questions with regard to Public Works, we will move on to 5.3, the Fire Chief's report for June. Mr. Reid.
Again, Reeve Laird and Council, thank you for your patience with me this morning. The Regional Fire Service Fire Chief's report for June is as presented. I will only again highlight to welcome our new Assistant Chief, Selby Brown, and other than that, I don't really have anything to highlight.
And it's my understanding, you know, for anybody who is perhaps listening in, we do have teams that have been deployed to help out with the BC fires. Perhaps you could just give us a quick highlight on what all we've sent to BC to help.
Certainly. In a general sense, and I'll just pull up that information right now. But in a general sense, we have been requested by the BC side to send some of our expertise over to assist with the many fires that they do have burning. Of course, our residents will know all the smoke in the area has been due to BC's situation. And we've actually had deployments of our structure protection specialists, and that's been ongoing for about 10 days now. We have recently sent out a full 5-person crew out to BC, and they are working, I believe, near Kamloops. There's a second WUI team near Osoyoos, I believe, and we actually have another deployment up to the north, up to in the Yukon actually, to assist with some flooding efforts with Canada's Task Force 2. So we are, again, as the new guy in town, I'm very impressed with the expertise on this fire service, the regional fire service, and the ability to maintain the protection at home, albeit with some changes, but the ability to maintain protection at home in Clearwater County, and there are no impacts to our regional fire service response at this time, but we are able, partly due to the partnership with the province, but we are able to also extend that expertise out and help protect our friends and neighbors. So it is a very impressive situation that we find ourselves in here in Clearwater County.
Well, and thank you for sharing that. I'm very proud of our firefighters and their ability to step up when the neighbors need help. I do note that in point number 2, it looks like we've used the WUI team in the past to do some hose testing, pump testing, etc. I would imagine that job takes probably all summer to do. So I imagine then we have other firefighters that would probably assist in the interim until our WUI teams return. I imagine that's something that's being done.
Yeah, without that, direct operational situation, I will tell you that some of those tasks will be just delayed, and our focus will be on maintaining our service level within the county while, like I said, helping our neighbors. But yes, task reallocation is definitely part of that ongoing effort. And some of that work will be delayed. Some of it will get done in a different way. Some of it will be casual on call. But with, the very deep detail isn't available to me right now.
No, and I appreciate that. Thank you. If there's any other questions with regard to the fire chief's June report, Councillor Hoven?
I have no questions.
Okay, that then brings us to the councillor reports. Just because I don't want to lose Councillor Hoven, who's out there on radio land, can we start with you if you have anything to report?
I have nothing to report.
All right, very well. I'm going to just play pick on whomever, so I'm going to go to Councillor Lougheed.
I would have nothing to report at this time.
All right, thank you. Councillor Swanson.
Nothing to report.
Very well. Councillor Duncan.
Just one item. I had a fairly short meeting with Paul McLaughlin, our RMA president, and he was just touching bases about the coal policy and Clearwater County views on that. They have met with the RMA has met with a coal policy committee that the government established, a 5-member committee, and have presented some of their views and ideas, and are now in the process of developing a position paper from RMA. They are finding it a bit of a difficult task because coal production in Alberta means so many different things to so many different municipalities that they are, seeing the wide range of pros and cons and pluses and minuses that go along with coal production and development in Alberta. So most of the discussion RMA had with the coal policy committee centered around tourism. They did not move too much into the environmental effects, environmental concerns out there. They thought that was best left to the science groups and thought they would focus their discussion with the coal policy group on tourism and the potential effects along the east slopes for that. So I just passed on some of our comments about tourism, that, you know, the Highway 11 corridor especially is very busy, and there are multiple users out there between oil and gas, forestry, potential coal development, and the tourism and other visitors that are out there along that corridor. So that is the most potentially the most highly impacted corridor out there. And that will probably be part of our discussions when we talk to the Coal Policy Committee in August. I believe we're scheduled for the 16th of August to meet with them. So other than that, it's probably just up to us to formulate our own opinions and pass them on to the Coal Policy Committee. And Paul asked that we touch bases after we finished with that committee on how that went. And he did say that they were very receptive and eager to listen, and he thought they would make some very good decisions on the coal policy.
All right. Any questions with regard to Councillor Duncan's report? All right. Seeing none, I'll move on to Councillor Lang. Whoops.
No, I have nothing to report, thank you.
Very well. Deputy Reeve Vandermeer.
Yes, thank you. The highlight for me of the last couple of weeks was the attendance at the grand opening of the Cambridge Hotel in Red Deer under O'Cheese band ownership. That's a major move for the band, and I know Reeve Laird has offered some comments on that subsequent meeting with the band and ministers. So that was a very interesting day. Also, I should comment, we're expecting that the O'Cheese will join CAPE. That is not finalized, but it's being worked on at this time. And I'm very pleased to report that Ponoka County has in fact rejoined CAPE. So we're strengthening the voice of Central Alberta municipalities at this time. It's looking quite positive in terms of strengthening that voice. Thank you.
Any questions with regard to Deputy Reeve Vandermeer's report? All right, seeing none, I took the liberty of writing mine out and emailing it to you. Highlights, as indicated, July 20th, we had I was able to attend the O'Cheese grand opening of the Cambridge Hotel in Red Deer. We congratulate them on their acquisition, and we wish them best as they move forward with that particular site and programming. We also attended or had an opportunity to attend a meeting with Minister Wilson and MLA Nixon and to discuss a number of their issues, which we were invited to. I included them in my report. One of note is the paving of O'Cheese Road, and discussions ensued, and I was able to indicate that we had moved it up in a priority for our council and our projects for public works, and that we're already in the process of looking at how to move along with the engineering and design of that road for further information and discussion. We also had an opportunity to talk about cost sharing that road between basically a third with our local dollars, provincial dollars and federal dollars. So, and it is approximately, just for round numbers, a $20 million project to do that. There was discussion also about that bridge, and it is a federal bridge. We looked into that, so that's another part of the discussion. So we're hoping to keep that moving along. And as part of that, before we conclude my report, or upon conclusion, I'll be looking for a motion from our council to do a joint letter with OCHES advocating for funding from the other levels of government. And I have that ready here as well. Also met with senior housing, and we're working through tendering the exterior building work. And it's quite a process, so we're still working through that. And by way of note, we still have 23 vacancies in Westview Lodge. The independent living is well subscribed to, and we have very little for vacancies there. I think there's still a lot of concern with regard to post-COVID. It'll take a little while to build back that confidence that we won't be locking facilities down. And by the way of that, we are open. People can come and go and visit. You just have to wear your mask. Then on the Thursday following that, we had a meeting with MLA Nixon and Minister Nally, or I should say Associate Minister Nally, with regard to energy, and you all attended that. Then we had a second meeting with the OCHES and MLA Nixon and Minister Shandro with regard to Central Alberta and our healthcare system and our hospital in particular, and how we're managing with the EMS system as well, and looking at how do we have accountability and ensure that our hospital is very viable, and we have some of the concerns were making sure that we're appropriate and professional in our approach at all levels. Mayor Burke indicated that she has started a task force, of which I've offered that we're happy to sit on that. Just let us know when and where. Some other discussion happened with regarding to the OCHES paved road again, and we talked about that. And lastly, on Friday, kind of real quick impromptu meeting between Mayor Burke, myself, and an OCHES rep, Alice Peters, about Mother Turtle Lodge and land options available, town and county. And we had really good discussions about what that detox center and program options will be moving forward. The OCHES does want to see this move forward as quickly as possible. And those were some of the discussions we'd had the previous day with Minister Shandro, looking for kind of root cause kind of things and how we can manage that. We also had an opportunity to talk about what we can do to facilitate, possibly even looking at not just an upgrade to our current hospital, but maybe looking at a brand new facility and how we could facilitate that. And certainly happy to answer any questions with regard to my report. If there are none, go ahead. Councillor Duncan.
A number of years ago, with respect to the O'Cheese Road, there was talk of them extending the reserve farther east by several quarter sections there with a land swap. That would affect the number of kilometers of road that would be Clearwater counties. And I don't know if you have heard of the status of that, or if they're still moving forward with any of that land changed out there. It was some kind of a land swap or a purchase or a grant from the government.
Yes, as a matter of fact, it was a discussion with regard to Minister Wilson and MLA Nixon, and they are looking at a number of quarter sections. I'm not sure where the flatlands are, but it is something that they have applied to. They're waiting for federal government, and then once the federal government gives them some sort of signal, then they would it would go to the provincial government, is my understanding of process, and I believe that's kind of how they explained it in one of the meetings we were able to participate in. So you're right, if it's to the east, it's going to change the dynamic of what that road distance is. I think regardless, we want to see this road move and process get moving, and we do want to keep that process moving for getting funding for that road.
I certainly agree to that. Thank you very much.
All right. So I'm looking, this is the motion I'm going to present. that council sends a joint letter with the Ochese First Nation advocating for provincial and federal cost sharing with Clearwater County to reconstruct and pave Township Road 42-5A, known as the Ochese Road, and advocating for federal funding to repair Ochese Bridge. Councillor Duncan? Okay. Any other questions? Seeing none, those in favor? Councillor Hoven?
In favor.
All right, that is carried. That leaves our council remuneration, and that is attached. If there are no other questions or comments with regard to our reports, I'm looking for someone to accept reports as presented. Deputy Reeve Vandermeer? Those in favor?
In favor.
Thank you, that is carried. So that brings us to correspondence, item number 6, which includes 6.1 through to 6.6. Mr. Reid, perhaps you could walk us through our correspondence.
Thank you, Reeve Laird. So, of course, the first one is well, basically, we were unsuccessful receiving any funding from the STIP program. They received a lot of applicants, so we were not successful. I don't really have much to say there. We were, however, successful on the second one with the Provincial Education Requisition Credit, or PARC program. And so you will see that a credit adjustment of $225,000 and change has been applied to our requisition invoice. Another correspondence regarding our CMP and the mental health program. Orphan Well Association annual report item. Again, I'm not adding anything because I don't really have anything to add. There's nothing that directly relates to Clearwater County or an action item that I would expect to come from council. Crow's Nest Pass letter opposing Bill C-21 for council's consideration. And the invitation to Starland County grand opening, just formally including this as correspondence. I don't believe any of you are able to attend that day, but we are, of course, sending our congratulations and a plaque, as we typically do for these items. Any questions?
I do have one question with regard to the first 6.1 correspondence from Alberta Transportation. There's at least 3 bridge files there. Are we already working on those bridge files?
You mean, are we building at this time or doing construction?
Or repairs? Yes.
I don't have that at my fingertips, but of course, with many of these grants, we have to follow the grant application program, and so if they required not to start, we wouldn't have started, but if we were allowed to start and still be eligible, we would have started according to the capital plan that we had. And I don't have anything else to say about that, but we can get you more clarity later in the week if you'd like.
That would be great. I guess I was looking at that and going, we may be just fully funding them if we've started work on them. Councillor Duncan?
You've just dialed a number.
I think the question there is are these bridges that are at a kind of priority we're going to have to move forward? This is probably the question we need to get answered. And that'll probably come with our budgetary process this fall. I would assume we'd have to decide whether or not we would move forward with a couple of these bridges if we're not going to get STIP funding.
Yeah, exactly. We will give a full update as to the capital plan when we bring
I see Ms. Shuran has joined us. She may have something she'd like to share.
Yes, so during budget for 2021 budget, we actually didn't budget for the STIP funding because we were quite successful in 2020 in receiving, I think, 4 or 5 grants for bridges, and we were assuming that we wouldn't likely be successful in 2021. So those bridges will be moving forward in 2021 without the funding, because that's how they were budgeted.
Very good. Good forward thinking so that we can keep this repairs going forward. So that's good news. Any other questions with regard to that? If not, Councillor Lougheed.
Just one question around clarification of a project for a bridge. Does that include engineering or pre-assessment or planning? Does that mean if we plan for these repairs that that's a start of a project, or is it only when you physically start being out there and reworking these structures?
Yeah, I can speak to this in one sense, and that is that it sometimes depends on which grant we're applying for, and it sometimes depends on our own timing. So if sometimes we will, and again, I'm the new guy here, so I'm only assuming some things, but we will start a project because we need to have the date and we need that engineering to apply for a grant. Or some of the other grants, the whole thing is what you apply for. So in a general sense, each one is different, but I don't know if that's good enough, Councillor Lougheed.
I think so.
All right. I guess the other question I have with regard to it would be the other funding letter that we received on June the 9th from Minister McIver with regard to credit adjustment that we applied to from the school foundation funding. Did that mean that we had to effectively write off anything, and if so, how much was that? And that may be a Mr. Hagan or Ms. Sherhan. Still has her light on, yay.
I can get that total dollar amount for you that we had to write off, but yes, in order to apply for the PERC grant, the entire balance had to be wrote off, so including the municipal portion of those accounts. So that was, I believe, in fall of 2020, where we wrote off those, a large number of those accounts that we felt we would not be successful in collecting. So either the company had already declared bankruptcy or were in the process of seeking creditor protection. So and those were the only accounts that we wrote off, and then this would be the school portion of those accounts. But I'll get the total amount and email it out to you later today.
Great, thank you. I assume it's a bit of an alarming number, so thank you for that. Mr. Hagan.
Thank you, Reeve. In addition to that, I just wanted to identify for council's benefit that those write-offs were approved by council resolution and that they were included in our 2020 audited financial statements. In addition to those write-offs making the county eligible for this recovery related to the educational taxes, they also provided the basis for the designated industrial property requisition credit that was referred to in the CAO report as well. So the one action of writing those accounts off made us eligible for those two separate recoveries.
All right, and thank you for that clarity. And for me, it's about just reminding ourselves that these are kind of the processes, and that it's a process of going through, looking at what we can and can't achieve, bringing that back to council so that we can at least recover something. But we recognize we've had to write off a few things along the way. Councillor Lang.
So this question's for Mr. Hagan or Ms. Sirhan. Sort of related, do you know what the total amount of outstanding is for the oil and gas companies owing?
Ms. Sherhan?
I know we did make a couple of collections recently, so that number is declining, but I don't have the total in front of me, but I can bring it back to you later today also.
Right. Thank you. We do know that RMA is making a number of, they've had some paperwork that they've put out for, and I'll say position paper. They've been advocating actively with the provincial government to find a more positive way forward for collections. And it is a very large number in the province of Alberta. So we're continue to advocate for a process forward that would allow us to collect locally and hold companies accountable. With regard to the Orphan Well Association letter, very interesting statistics on that one. Quite a number of these, if you note, 1, 2, 3 items down or paragraphs down, the average cost of decommissioning a well, $23,000, reclamation of a site, just a little bit less than that. And it's obviously dependent on various variables. And then also looking at how it employs 41 to 57 people for those closures and so forth. There's a number of various sites that is being worked on by the OCHEs on their nation. And it seems to be quite a successful program. I'm glad to see that this association is working forward on our behalf. And it looks like good work is being done in our community on that particular file. So, and it's employing people, so that's very good. And cleaning up our lands. Is there any other questions with regard to correspondence? If not, I'm looking for a motion to accept correspondence as information. Councillor Duncan? Those in favor?
In favor.
Thank you. Councillor Hoven, that is carried. That takes us to item number 7, notices of motion. Do we have any notices of motion? Deputy Reeve Vandermeer.
Yes, I have one notice. And it is to connect fiber optic cable to 300 plus residences along the backbone route by the earliest feasible date. And I recognize, of course, that our next meeting is a month away, so I have this motion in place at this time to give our administration time to review how this could be done in the most effective way.
Tracy Lynn, were you able to capture that? Or would you like, okay, if we don't need that. So we'll look for that to come back in the nearest future. All right, as long as we've achieved that, that allows us then to move on to, unless there's any other notices of motion, I better ask again. Councillor Hoven, do you have any notices of motion?
I have no notices of motion.
Okay, thank you. Seeing no others, then we will move on to item number 8, which is our closed session. In the meantime, perhaps we could take a 5-minute stretch. We'll take a break. 9:55, and we're back from our break, and we're about to go into a closed session for looking for a motion to Councillor Lang. So those in favor? Councillor Hoven? All right.
Hello. I'm in favor.
Okay, thank you. That's carried 7-0. So going into closed session at 9:55. All right. Okay. Well, welcome back, folks. We are returning to open session. There is nothing, no motions coming out of our closed session. It is 12:26. By way of just reminders and a few closing remarks, again, a most full-hearted thank you to our administration for your continued efforts and support. We recognize we burden you with a lot of our plans, and we are thankful that you're bringing the projects forward and getting them done. You can find today's council meeting highlights and video posted on our website. By way of reminder, our county office will be closed Monday, August the 2nd, 2021 for Heritage Day. Our next regular council meeting is scheduled for August the 24th, 2021. I again remind folks on behalf of our council that we recognize that there's a lot of COVID things still going on. We've eased a lot. We acknowledge that, but we ask you to take appropriate precautions and celebrate Heritage Day safely. We're definitely in the swing of summer season right now. August long weekend is around the corner with our Heritage Day, and it's an opportunity to reflect on all the wonderful cultures that Canada has to share. Our people and our stories are what makes our community so very special. And the goal of this day is to tell those stories about our history and share them with all that would be happy to listen. Alberta, and especially our community, because I'm happy to brag about it, are known for pristine wilderness, sunshine, fresh air, and open spaces. And we invite those who would like to come and enjoy it with us. We hope everyone out there is enjoying our amazing backyard and celebrating and sharing our diverse cultures. That brings us to the end, and I'm looking to adjourn the meeting as of 12:30. Who would like to do that? Councillor Swanson? Those in favor? Councillor Hoven?
In favor.
There we go. We are adjourned.